And WNST part. Luke Jones is out in Owings Mills, where the Ravens got the party started a little bit earlier than usual. Of course, we have Marshall Yonda out at Greenmount Station for the Bone Marrow Registry and some good stuff there. You can hear all of that in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault. Luke, extra day, lots of enthusiasm, a good week to have an extra day, I think, in a lot of ways, and to build some enthusiasm. And it was very clear Steve Smith was dressed for the party on Wednesday, right?
Yeah. I mean, Steve Smith, you could tell that he was really, really uptight about this Monday night meeting with New England, wearing a Yoda Star Wars onesie, which can't recall seeing too many players wear something like that at the podium.
If it was pink, he would have looked like a pink nightmare, right?
Yeah, exactly. So plenty of action on social media regarding that outfit, but. Your point about the extra day, you get into the month of December. I don't care if you're playing great. I don't care if you're playing out the string. Whoever you might be, you like having an extra day to recover, and certainly the Ravens took advantage of that. They get back in the building on Wednesday for what they typically do on Tuesday, which is walk through, have some meetings, but guys were out of the building fairly early, by 3, 4 o'clock or so on Wednesday. So, really a way to kind of get cranked up then for the rest of the week, and everything gets pushed back a day, and then you have the Monday where you sit around in the hotel room and wait all day for the Monday night game. So
New England's lovely this time of year. I'm sure it'll be really, really balmy in 36 or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. And let's face it, I mean, the Ravens are used to playing Monday night road games, so they're kind of used to this routine. They've done it seemingly once or twice a year, every year. I haven't had a Monday night home game since 2012. So, but they're used to it, and this is an opportunity for them to not just either keep pace or potentially move ahead. What happens with Pittsburgh in their game on Sunday, but a chance to prove that what they did against Miami wasn't an aberration, but more a start of things to come the rest of the way. We've all talked about this offense needing to play at a higher level. They did that against the Dolphins. There's no disputing that. But can they continue that, or do we see them revert to what we had seen for the better part of the first 12, 13 games, 12 games of the season, or 11 games of the season, I should say. And it'll be a true test. There's no doubt. I mean, the Ravens have had success in New England, more so than just about anyone. But keep in mind, 2012 was a long time ago. 11 players remain on this roster that were part of that 2012 Super Bowl team. So a lot of change on both sides, quite frankly. So there's a lot of history with the players at the top, so to speak, and certainly these two head coaches. But as far as some of the classic games you remember between these two teams, even 2 years ago, a bit of turnover on both sides.
Well, I'm looking at the weather. At least the early forecast is rain and the S word. 44 degrees during the day, 30 at night, 60% chance of precipitation, and the S word has been involved. And I don't know if they're going to bring the snow blowers out, or we're going to see what we saw in the Oakland game 15 years ago. But we've seen everything there but snow, quite frankly, right?
Yeah, and that would certainly be interesting. I mean, we know the Ravens have not run the ball particularly well at all this season. I mean, they've had their moments here and there, but 28th ranked rushing attack kind of speaks for itself. New England, on the other hand, has run the ball very well, but they're going up against the number one rush defense in the NFL. The Ravens have been fantastic stopping the run all year long. So precipitation would be quite interesting to see how this one works out. I mean, you figure both these teams want to throw the ball. I think the Ravens, we're 3/4 of the way through the season. This is a passing team. They can talk all they want about running the ball. I'm not saying they don't need to run the ball better. I'm not saying they won't have moments over this final 4 games where they'll want to run the ball, but this is a passing team. I mean, they are what they are. Joe Flacco is among the leaders in passing attempts. So precipitation, be really, really interesting. And then, like I said, on the flip side, regardless of the fact that they've done it well this year, the Patriots, I just can't envision them having a ton of success running the football. So precipitation, if that is part of the equation on Monday night, this one could be really, really tough to predict either way.
I love that they're trending healthy, right? And we've talked so much in the good years when they've done well in January. It was the years when Joe Flacco didn't have a purple hip, and years where they have their best players on the field and trending in the right direction. If you were to write the story as to where you'd want to be coming into New England, this isn't a bad place to be, given all the injuries they had back in October, given how healthy they've gotten. The healthy guys have been contributing, whether it's Suggs, Yanda, at this point, Doomerville, even Jimmy Smith. All of those guys feel like they're getting better, not worse. Joe Flacco feels like he's getting a little more comfortable in the offense. The offensive line is gelling a little bit more. And there's no Gronkowski, and there's no Jamie Collins. So, I don't know that weather would be the great equalizer one way or the other, but I would not welcome it at this point. And I would say that where the health of these two teams are and where they look like they were 6 weeks ago versus now, I'll take my chances on Monday night. That's the way I feel. That's the way I'm going to feel getting on the plane Monday.
No, I mean, I think you certainly have to like the Ravens' chances a lot more than you would have even 2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, it's just they're playing better football. Now, you can certainly debate and look at the fact of who they've played over the last 5 weeks and certainly point out that 4 of those 5 games and those 4 wins all came at home. So certainly the question of going on the road and playing at a level that the Ravens would need to play to beat New England, that's certainly a fair question to ask. And we'll get our answer here over the next several days. But I think you do look at the health of this football team, and beyond just the reality that it is a veteran-laden team, they are coming on some of their most important players are guys on the wrong side of 30 that you do wonder how they hold up in December. But the injury report should look pretty clean this week. I mean, besides the names that we've talked about the last few weeks, Alex Lewis not going to play. We'll see, guys like Crockett Gilmore, Lorenzo Taliaferro, but even those are role players. Those are backups. So you look at the way this football team profiles right now compared to where they were in October, as you mentioned, they're in as good position as you could reasonably expect in early December going up to Foxborough to play the Patriots. The big question is just going to be, is this Ravens team really good enough? They're better than they were in October. I think everyone agrees with that, but New England, for all the issues that they've dealt with, and you mentioned some of the injuries they're dealing with, Gronkowski, Jamie Collins is gone, Danny Amendola dealing with the ankle. So they're not at full strength, but this is still a football team that has played at a very high level all year long at 10-2, and they're battling it out for home field advantage right now, battling with the Raiders. So they have a lot to play for. They played at a really high level, and the Ravens are as equipped as just about any team you could think of to go in there and potentially pull off an upset. But again, let's see how the Ravens, all the progress that they've been able to make playing at home since the bye week, 4 out of those 5 games. Let's see them carry over some of those principles. Let's see them be able to work out of that hurry-up offense on the road, not playing in their home stadium, and playing against what is a pretty good defense that New England has. Even no Collins in the equation anymore, but that's still a group that has profiled as a sort of that top 10, top 12 kind of defense all year long. So certainly much better competition than what they saw from the Dolphins, who were on a winning streak, but I think everyone wondered just how good they were. So just a matter of building and a matter of, hey, you're playing 3 out of your final 4 games away from M&T Bank Stadium. If the Ravens are going to get to where they need to get to make the playoffs, you're going to have to win some road games here. So why not go to New England and see what you're made of? And we know this isn't a must-win game in terms of, they need to stay within, no matter what happens the next couple of weeks, they want to be no worse than 1 game behind the Steelers going into Christmas Day. But this is a great litmus test for them to see, all right, are they that okay, slightly above average team that they've kind of been to this point in the season, or was this past Sunday that springboard to kind of put them back in that championship kind of equation that I think a lot of Ravens fans viewed Sunday's performance, and you're hoping if Joe Flacco can get on one of those roles, if this offense can get on that roll to kind of match or at least come closer to matching what their defense has done, then this becomes a very, very dangerous football team.
Time to hang the purple lights. We'll be out at Buffalo Wild Wings at Owings Mills on Monday night. Pete will be there with the best seat in the house promotion as well as our Blazing Wing Eating Challenge. I'm sure it'll be a little wacky there at Buffalo Wild Wings at Owings Mills on Monday night. You'll definitely want to be a part of that. Luke Jones joining us here to talk all things Ravens. And, the one thing you see with the Patriots, they don't turn the ball over, ever, right? Tom Brady, 1 interception. The difference for this defense, it being the number 2 defense in the league with yards allowed and all that, would be in a game like this, can they get a turnover? Can they tip a pass? Can they force a fumble? Can they have a strip sack of Brady? Can they get to Brady? Can they pick a ball off? Will they drop 1 or 2? The way Weddle dropped 1 2 weeks ago. Those will be the determining factors here because, for me, if they don't take the ball away, they're going to have a hard time winning. I think sort of in the shootout thing where Brady's going to go up and down the field, they're going to play defense. It's going to be, 21-16 or 21-17 or 23-21. Taking the ball away would be a big, big way to win this football game on Monday night.
I think you're right with that. In that way, it kind of reminds you of what they were dealing with going to Dallas a few weeks ago, knowing that, all right, as great as this defense is, to go up to New England and hold the Patriots 12 points, that'd be really, really surprising. And then maybe we are talking about this defense in a historical context then. But you would expect they're not going to be able to shut them down every time. They're going to get some stops. I would be surprised if you see New England hang 40 points on the board. But is it a case where you're just kind of playing behind and your offense can't quite keep up? And that's basically what happened against the Cowboys, for better or worse. So
yeah, you get into a shootout and you stop shooting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you hang with them for a while, and then the better team just kind of pulls ahead. If you're talking about that kind of a narrative, with this, I could see it following a similar suit if you don't force a turnover. And one thing that this team has done, even if they're not prolific, even if you don't think of them as incredibly great in forcing takeaways, they entered the week ranked second or tied for second in interceptions. I mean, this team was dead last a year ago. So they've been better in that regard. But as you pointed out, I mean, New England is just so disciplined in that they take care of the football. I mean, Tom Brady is not a guy who throws many interceptions. He has 1 all year. I mean, that's just 4-game suspension or not. That's ridiculous when you're talking about having 1 when you're into the second game in December.
My dad would say he's due to throw 2 or 3.
Yeah. I mean, you would think. I mean, in the same way that I guess Ryan Tannehill was due on Sunday, and he ends up throwing 3 picks when he had thrown, I think, 1 over the previous 6 games. So, this defense can make a difference. There's no doubt about that. But I am in agreement that if the Ravens are playing New England straight up in terms of turnovers and those types of plays, it's I have a tough time envisioning this offense for as good as it looked against Miami. And again, they were really impressive, but at the same time, got to be fair, and you can't just ignore the 11 previous games and say, well, this is who they are right now. We'll see. You hope this is what they are, or this is what they're becoming, but there's a longer track record that says offense probably not going to be scoring 35 points or approaching that territory again. So can you get a couple stops? Can you get a critical turnover at some point to set your offense up on a short field? You pick off Brady at the 31-yard line and have a short field for your offense, and then can the offense capitalize and score a touchdown? And how you flip the score, so to speak. I think a lot of people anticipate this being a pretty close game. I think even some of the picks from some of the national outlets early in the week, by Tuesday, Wednesday, I think most people were picking New England, and that makes sense. I mean, they're 3 games better in the win-loss column, but you do look at this as a team that, the Ravens team that's played teams close this year. Even when they've lost, they haven't generally been blown out. I mean, the Dallas game, they lost by 10. So I think everyone anticipates this being a 1-possession game come the fourth quarter. Can you get that takeaway at some point to kind of flip that score, and then you're the team holding on to a 1-score lead with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter? I mean, that's the scenario for how you win. Clearly, you have to be efficient in the red zone. Much as you love Justin Tucker, can't be expecting to kick field goals and expecting that to be enough. against a team like New England that's been so dynamic offensively. Even without Rob Gronkowski, they're still going to find ways to score points. I think we've seen that enough over the years. I mean, that guy's missed a lot of games over the years. And
yeah, the names change, but the quarterback doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you have Brady and Belichick running the show there, I mean, as you said, all the other names change, but in the end, they're still going to be there. So, that said, I think this Ravens team is confident. I think they were very measured with their words, at least early in the week, talking about their opponent. I mean, even Terrell Suggs was very clear he didn't want to say anything to provide any bulletin board material, although this kind of a matchup, I'm not sure how much that even matters. I think if you're questioning the motivation for either one,
was he expect they're going to throw rose petals at him when he comes through the tunnel in Foxborough on Monday?
Exactly,
that's not going to happen.
Exactly. But John Harbaugh coached these guys up to be very careful in their words, very measured in what they say. Don't want to give anything away from a strategic standpoint. You don't want to provide any emotional motivation. Again, how much of that really matters in the end? Probably not much, but it was very clear. I mean, the Ravens, they have a lot of respect for this team. Maybe not on a personal level, but on a professional level. They know how good this team is. They know how challenging it's going to be. And for as much success as the Ravens have had against them relative to other teams, it has been a while since the Ravens have beaten them. You have to go back the last couple times they played. Certainly the playoff game 2 years ago where the Ravens had two different 14-point leads and couldn't hold on. And then 2013, which people kind of forget this game because it was so forgettable for the Ravens. But remember that year, the Ravens were coming off of a 4-game winning streak. They had that big Monday night win in Detroit where Justin Tucker hit the 60-plus yard field goal, and they're feeling good about their chances at 8-6. And New England was coming in, and this was 11 months removed from their win in the AFC Championship game, and the Patriots beat them by 34 points. So I think you got to remember, for as much success as the Ravens have had, you have to know how dangerous New England is as well. So we'll see how this plays out. I mean, you have a handful of key guys that are left when the Ravens had their heroics against New England in years past.
You gave me 11 names. I'm going to have to come up with those 11 now. I have to go through those.
Yeah, it's 11 names. You want to try? I have it right in front of me.
All right. Let's say. Okay, let's go here. Flacco, Yanda, Pitta, Cook, Chucker, Cox, Levine. McClellan, yay.
McClellan,
all right. Let's go to Jimmy Smith. He was pretty instrumental, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm missing 2. Don't shoot me. Hold on. Here I come. Hold on. I'm running out of gas. I mean, I know them, but I watch the team play. I'm turned around. Hold on here. Not skill position. Let's see. Not interior lines. Got to be defense. I'm missing somebody. Oh, Ladarius. Okay, hold on there. That's 10.
Ladarius Webb, who was on IR.
That's 10. That's 10. All right, man. Give it to me.
I think you didn't say Suggs, did you?
I didn't say Suggs. All right. Well, I'm trying to get rid of him anyway, so fine. All right, good. Let him know that I forgot.
It's kind of important, though, regardless of how anyone feels about it.
When I think of him in the Super Bowl, all I think of him doing is cursing at reporters and ripping down all the Super Bowl framing in the locker room to stuff in his bag. That's when I think of Suggs. That's what I think of.
I wasn't in the locker room at that point. I must have been at one of the podiums that they had in the bowels of the Superdome, but I do remember hearing about that.
I was in there in Foxborough, and I'll tell you, those 11 guys will have very good and some of them very, very bad associations with that room when they walk into the building and get dressed,
Yeah, no doubt. But this is as interesting as you could reasonably expect. 6 weeks ago, I think anyone looked at this game. First, you didn't know if the Ravens were even going to be in the playoff hunt at this point, looking where they were after that Week 7 loss to the Jets, which, by the way, watching the Monday night game, seeing how awful the Jets were, just made it even more maddening that the Ravens, even with their injuries, that they lost to those guys. But you see where this team is now. You see how the offense certainly broke out on Sunday against the Dolphins. But even before then, there had been some signs of some better things. And certainly the offensive line continuity kind of sticks out as a welcome change. And as you mentioned, the improved health. It can be very fleeting. It can take a few plays, and then you're missing some key guy. But to this point, right now, where the Ravens sit right now, pretty healthy and seem to be playing their best football. So it's going to be really, really interesting on Monday night, and certainly fun to renew what's become maybe not Ravens-Steelers, but Ravens-Patriots has become a really, really interesting rivalry here over the last 5-6 years.
Well, it's only a rivalry if we win some of them, so let's go hurt their feelings on Monday night. Last thing for you, special teams. Talked to a lot of guys up in New England. Gostowski's missed some kicks, but a lot of guys missing kicks. There's one thing that, you talk about taking the ball away, maybe on special teams there's a way to do that, and we certainly saw all sorts of wacky things happen last week with Eric Berry, amongst other things. Having a kicker in a place like that, in a game like this, is a real difference maker when you're thinking about this game being a field goal game one way or the other.
It is. Now, it can't be something you lean on to the point where you get overly conservative. But if you have how many times have we seen it this year where Justin Tucker hit the field goal at the end of the half? That's huge right there. If you run your 2-minute offense and you don't have all your timeouts, or you were backed up and you can get to just past midfield and you have an option to kick a field goal there, that's something a lot of teams don't have. So you love having that ability to be able to steal an extra 3 points. Again, you don't want it to be to the detriment of your offense, which, let's face it, there have been some times this year where they've had to settle for a Justin Tucker field goal, and in some games where, frankly, they needed to score another touchdown or two. So you don't want to rely on it too heavily, but
8 for 850 plus. 8 for 850 plus. I mean, that speaks for itself, right?
It really does. I mean, if you're settling for field goals inside the red zone, that's where you say, this isn't good. But when you're getting to that 40 to 35 yard line, that kind of range where, okay, you're not especially close to the end zone or even close to the red zone, quite frankly, and you can get 3 points out of that where other teams are punting. Yeah, that's pretty special. Now, we'll see. We'll see what the conditions look like Monday night. Certainly conditions late in the season a lot different than September and October, but Justin Tucker, we've seen over the course of his career, even kicking in some tough conditions, this guy's pretty much unflappable, and this year more than ever, I mean, 28 for 28 speaks for itself. So you're right. It comes down to a one-possession game. Pretty nice weapon to have when you look at all the kicking issues that you've seen all over the league this year. Just a little reminder of why the Ravens gave Justin Tucker the money they did back in July.
He is Luke Jones. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Baltimore Luke, as well as Luke at WNST.net. I am available anytime, anywhere via the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day. You can listen live or download that TuneIn Radio app and listen to what you want, where you want, when you want, how you want throughout the holidays, over the river and through the woods. We are there for you. It is the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. That is brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life there. And breaking news always happens first on the WNST Tech Service. When the Orioles make that big whatever they're going to do, you'll get it first there. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford, Security Boulevard, and Dennis Kolatzos will be here this Thursday and every Thursday driving you home, getting you ready for Thursday Night Football as well as the weekend. It is the SSV on WNST, heard 3 until 5 on Thursday. I'm Nestor. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We'll be in Foxborough on Monday. A big weekend of Army, Navy, and Caps ahead. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.